Today, the majority of the world's population believe that death is inevitable, or not final as in rebirth, or life after death. Those who evade the reality of mortality also belong to this category. This often results in living unfulfilled, devoutly religious, drug-addicted or otherwise self-destructive or time-wasting lives. Once death happens, it is final for every individual. The results of evading this fact is the evident, obvious problem. The darkest psychological secret. However, it goes beyond that, like the evasion of today's more objective, life-affirming people. The following psychological error is one experienced primarily by the most open-minded, productive and life-affirming people within today's traditional society. That error is summed up in the figure of speech, live every day as if it were your last. While it is still a much more beneficial worldview than the religious one, the simple problem and irrationality with this attitude to live life to the fullest while counting on the eventual end of one's own life is that a finite life would be senseless and hopeless. Creating great values for oneself, loved ones and society, being successful, experiencing romantic love, experiencing as much genuine happiness as possible, ultimately all only makes sense when there is a possibility to live indefinitely. For the sense and meaning of life exists only in relation to the individual. Once an individual would be gone, while his life work and changes to the world he has been living in would be retained for others. All his memories, unique experiences, love, happiness is gone forever, since he is gone forever. Objectively, expecting and accepting finite lives is just as irrational for conscious beings as accepting immediate death. Also, realize the subtle self-destructions and anti-civilization worldviews that arises from the attitude, even from the most life-affirming people, who still believe life has to eventually end. With inevitable certain death sooner or later, one has nothing to lose but also nothing to win. Thus arise anti-civilizations, traditional, unnatural societies, in which people sacrifice their lives to bogus, greater goals than the individual, in which they use force to destructively and senselessly control others, in which they perpetuate the anti-civilization by setting its boundaries and perpetuating its suffering. Without that senseless, inevitable death illusion, everything changes for every conscious individual. It changes back to a natural mode of living, just as animals live naturally. With an open-ended lifespan, with the possibility of living forever, and the certainty of one's own life not being limited by old age and common diseases, there is suddenly everything to lose and everything to win. Individuals which are freed from inevitable mortality by science, and by their own always rational, always beneficial actions will not seek destruction or irrelevant power over others. Instead, they will increasingly control their own life, happiness, productivity. Those values are increased infinitely in an open-ended life. And with everything to lose, with so much real endless values, there will be profound self-responsibility. But how is immortality achieved? Is this pure abstract philosophy, positive thinking, New Age mysticism, or trust in the future and technology which someone else will eventually achieve? To the contrary. First, every individual has the primary responsibility for his or her own life. This fundamental responsibility lies in living off of one's own efforts without draining or forcing others, and in an always rational life, to maintain one's own health. The achievement of an open-ended lifespan depends on the active and honest advocacy, marketing, production and scientific research to prove the solution, or studying the business and science knowledge necessary for such a project. For example, there are prizes such as the 1 million Mprize for whoever extends the healthy life of a mouse to 9.5 years. Not to mention, there is already a very promising discovery that the telomerase enzyme largely controls the aging and rejuvenation in mice and possibly in humans. Links to these facts are in the description below. You can start today by improving your life towards open-ended immortality, towards a new life in which you have everything to win. You can start to get involved by reading and participating.